And when did you join Reform, John?
A year ago.
Right. And what made you do that?
Because I like Nigel Farage and I like their policies.
And what in particular? Which policies do you like?
Will John be able to name a reform policy? Of course not. But does that matter to John? Of course not. Let's take a little listen to John talking to Lewis Goodall, which shows all the blind obedience of somebody who's deferred their capacity for critical thinking to the outside force known as Nigel Farage.
All of them. Like that debate that debate you had with Zia Youssef.
Yeah.
Now, I'll explain why.
Go on.
That debate it was a great debate. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
But I would believe him rather than you.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. This is the problem that the two main parties have got. Yeah?
Yeah.
Trust has headed off into the sunset. It's gone. It's gone.
But
Please believe me.
I don't disbelieve you, John, but then why do you trust Farage and what Zia Youssef was saying? Because honestly, I mean, you can believe him if you like, and that's entirely your prerogative, but I am telling you as a matter of objective fact, we don't spend £7 billion on DEI. We just don't. Don't.
You say we don't.
It's
see,
objectively...
it's a problem, isn't it? When people don't trust you, and they trust them.
Well, that's like
they're
saying,
going to lean to them.
okay, so if Zia Youssef said that Jupiter had exploded, you would believe him, but it hasn't.
Now listen as John shows his complete devotion to the cult of reform, as he almost appears to say that he's willing to admit that 2 + 2 = 5 if Farage tells him that's the correct answer, rather than accept the truth because it comes from a different source.
You know,
Listen,
like objective fact does matter, though, John.
Or you, if you said the sun was going to shine tomorrow.
So you wouldn't? What,
if
you
Reform
wouldn't?
said it would, I'd trust them.
So you what? Sorry. So let me get this straight.
Look,
John, let me just focus on that for a second. So if Keir Starmer gets up and says the sun is going to rise tomorrow, you won't believe him.
No.
Even though the
Nigel
sun has
Farage
risen
did,
every day for the past millions of years.
Yes, I'd say there's something dodgy about that. But look, take Robert Jenrick, for example.
I don't know where to go with that, John, I have to say. I understand that trust has declined in politics. I understand it's declined in the media. But you would accept, wouldn't you? Let's just try and get to the sort of basics of this. Objective facts do exist. Facts exist, right? You accept that?
Of course they do.
In which case, why would you outsource all of your critical faculties to one man and one party and say, well, I would believe anything that he and they say and never believe what someone else says at any time? Why would you do that?
What I believe we're seeing here is something called counterwill. Counterwill is an instinctive resistance to feeling controlled or coerced, a natural human response to protect oneself from perceived external pressure. It's a developmental phenomenon especially prominent in childhood, where children push back against instructions or directives they perceive as controlling. Because many people feel powerless in their day-to-day lives, and I imagine John is one of them, and feel that the government imposes control, telling them to accept certain circumstances or even to yield to inclusivity, having in their minds to concede to being woke. They feel that they can't express themselves, and I believe that they've attached themselves to reform because reform allows them to express their need to show opposition, even if they don't know what that opposition is. So John is unable to answer any questions about what reform's policies are, but he's happy to be able to show that he can kick back against something, even if that shows that he's locked himself into a box of ignorance.
Because I've told you.
But that's illogical.
It's called trust.
As for John, let's see if he can explain what Farage will do differently concerning Brexit if Nigel were in charge.
I mean, how's the economy? I mean, we were promised that we'd get all these trade deals and we'd be able to sort of revolutionise the economy and the economy would grow gangbusters. I mean, what happened to all that? He wasn't right about that, was he?
Yes, he was. Lewis, we've never had a truly Brexit government. But just wait and see.
But
we're going to have one next
what
time
would we have had?
You're going to love it, Lewis. You're
John,
going to love it, honestly.
Well, maybe I will. But John, what would just finally, because I've got to go to the news. What if we'd had a Brexit government? You say we never had a Brexit government, even under Boris Johnson. What would they have done? How would Brexit have been different? How would it have been different? How?
Well, I can't believe you just mentioned Boris Johnson, the man who we elected to stop illegal immigration and cut legal immigration. Who tripled it.
But how? I'm just asking, structurally speaking, how would Brexit have been different?
It will be different.
But how
You
would it
haven't
have
seen
been different?
anything yet.
But how?
You haven't
How
seen
will it be
well,
different? How? What will we do differently?
Look, all I can say to you is wait until Nigel and Richard and the men and the women of reform are in Downing Street, and you will see just how different it will be.
But can you just name just one way in which Brexit will be different, John?
Many ways.
Okay.
Click here for a selection of videos about dumb people and stupidity.